Doxing is the act of culling and releasing someone's personal information online. And it's become increasingly popular in recent years. At the moment, there are no legal consequences to this. But doxing could soon become a crime. The issue of doxing was in the spotlight recently when 23-year-old undergraduate Monica Bay went on social media to publicly air her grievances. She was the victim of a peeping Tom incident. Feeling that the perpetrator, Nicholas Lim, was let off too easily, she took to Instagram with a series of posts detailing what had happened to her.
So it was at the top of the town in school, and everyone was still buzzing around, like in group chats, all that, people were just talking about it.
And identifying Nicholas as the perpetrator.
People started to threaten him, like a lot of them were very upset, so they started to send him a lot of hate.
So Nicholas had all his personal details revealed, his name, his school, his address, his email, and even his family members and girlfriends' identities also, like all their personal information.
Her posts went viral within 22 hours.
He's currently suspended for 1 semester, but I heard the review committee would want to make it longer, and also that NUS students came together to sign a petition in order for him to get expelled.
If I'm not wrong, he actually lost his job because of too much media spotlight.
Clearly, Nicholas suffered consequences as a result of the social media storm. But what many of us don't realize is that Monica could have inadvertently doxed Nicholas. How will this anti-doxing law affect us all? More importantly, can we achieve justice without doxing a single person? So when did doxing become commonplace in Singapore? I am meeting John Lim, a cybersecurity expert. He also specializes in ethical hacking. I'm meeting him here at this stadium.
Well, doxing kind of reminds me of the gladiatorial combat in ancient Rome, whereby the crowd being in the arena. When the battle ends, what happens is that the losing gladiator's fate will be determined by the crowd. And it's really a mob mentality whereby the crowd will decide whether or not the losing warrior actually dies or lives after the battle. So doxing in today's context really is similar to this kind of situation whereby it really results from the crowd mentality.
So how did doxing evolve to become what it is today?
It's much more easier now to, whenever you see an incident happening, to whip out that phone to film that particular incident. And the publicity that goes after that could actually incite certain sentiments among the people. And this is what makes doxing out of control.
In our ever-expanding online world, private information including our work, emails, home addresses and mobile numbers can be easily sourced from websites and social media platforms. It's easy for anyone to collect this data and publish it for the world to see. One of the earliest cases of doxing I remember is Amy Chong's. The Singapore-based Australian posted seemingly racist comments on social media. Her post went viral within hours, whipping up fury from tens of thousands of netizens. The next morning, Amy's name, employment details, and photos of her family members were plastered across online media. She was swiftly sacked by her employer. Amy fled Singapore a mere 3 days after her post went public. In another infamous case, British citizen Anton Casey mocked people travelling on the MRT. Hours after his first post went up, his home address and employment details were published online. A mere 4 days later, Anton and his family fled the country after they were inundated with death threats. It's been 7 years since the Amy Chong case and 5 years since Anton. Online media exposes scandals faster than ever before. But how long-lasting are these actions? I'm armed with pictures of some of Singapore's most notorious faces. They have ignited online firestorms across the country, so I'm bringing them to the public.
He's the guy that picked at a girl when she showered, right, in NUS.
Oh, yeah, okay. He took a video on the MRT train on all Singaporeans are poor.
I think he cheated the tourists with all the expensive mobile phones. Okay, yeah, and I think he made one of the Vietnamese tourists back for him to return the money and then kneel down on the floor and stuff like that.
I only know that he was fined $2,800 for hitting the mirror of the lorry. I don't think it's justified because everyone makes mistakes, and I mean he's a student himself. Because of this, then his future is kind of ruined.
Actually, I don't know, in a way maybe he asked for it. The keyboard warriors are very, swift in reacting.
I think the law will take care of its own, so I think, usually those keyboard warriors, they just like to type.
Everyone deserves a second chance.
I think 7 years is a long time already. To forgive, for her to reflect also, I think she should be given a second chance.
I think they should give him a chance to turn over a new leaf and then start afresh.
I think we should just forgive and forget. Like he paid the price already for whatever wrong he's done, and then just move on.
Most of the people I spoke to remembered them and felt that the law has dealt with them fairly. Singaporeans seem in general to be a forgiving lot, which makes me wonder if the doxing far outweigh the crime in most of these instances. I decide to track down the people behind these infamous cases. As for Amy Chung, she still has a Facebook account that's active. Now this surprised me, especially since it all started with her Facebook post. I reached out to them, but one by one, they refused to talk to me. Only Amy Chung responded to my Facebook message, but she declined an on-camera interview. Amy just told me that she's still suffering the consequences of being doxed. Incredibly enough, people still remember her. She cannot find a job because every time she goes for an interview, potential employers will ask her about the incident that happened 7 years ago. Amy Chong and Anton Casey were doxed because people felt justice had to be served. But what if the person being doxed doesn't deserve it?
The threats were, they were beginning to feel a bit real because there's too many of them coming in.
Doxing is becoming common in Singapore, and the reactions online can be pretty intimidating. In December 2018, this footage went viral. It was first posted on roads.sg. Netizens were enraged. Besides a tirade of furious comments, an online mob started hunting down the cyclist. They dug out his personal details, including his employer, and verbally abused him online. How did you find out that you were doxed?
It was actually on a Sunday morning. I was swimming with my kids and I received a phone call from a colleague of mine who said she was very concerned, and I asked her why. She says, "Oh my God, you're all over the internet, all over social media. There's death threats and everything. I'm really worried about you." So at that point I thought, well, what could it be? She goes, "You need to let the company know because they're being involved as well." So at that point we went online, I had a look, and yes, my name was everywhere. So I thought, well, this is a bit silly. Didn't really think too much about it.
You thought it was a little bit silly and you didn't think too much of it?
No, I think when they started to go after my kids and saying, put pictures of the kids up, we know where they go to school because of the uniform, we know this, and then that was it. I said, that's it.
When they found out that they were targeting your kids, how did you feel?
I think as a parent, obviously you are very angry because, the kids have nothing to do with it. And you go into protection mode. But the threats were, they were beginning to feel a bit real because there's too many of them coming in. So you do feel a bit vulnerable. And having worked all this time and worked hard, etc., to build a home, build a life in Singapore, which you consider safe, to get stuff like this was just, you know, not very comfortable.
The thing is this: Peter wasn't even the cyclist. Instead of targeting Eric, the actual cyclist, netizens wrongly identified British citizen Peter Chung as the culprit. Peter is from the same cycling club as Eric, and he's also his cousin. At what point did you decide to make a police report?
I had discussed this with my company, and we were planning the best way to move forward. So I had backing, and obviously we have social media specialists, etc. So they said, look, make the police report. And so I made the police report, and then, you know, because we said we'll move forward together and sort this out. Yeah, I unlocked my Facebook page, put my quote up on the Facebook page to try and get as many shares as possible.
Eventually, Eric Chung was charged in court for committing mischief and failing to ride in an orderly manner. As for Peter, Roads SG put up a disclaimer from Peter's employer saying that he is not the cyclist in question. After a week of online harassment, netizens realized that they had targeted the wrong person. It was on the Roads SG platform that Peter's personal details were revealed to their 230,000 followers. Peter told me he feels that platforms like this should be more responsible. So I got in touch with Jason Lim, the director of Roads SG. Jason's team receives and vets more than 50 videos from the public on a daily basis. In the case of Peter Chung, who was wrongly identified, what was the platform's reaction?
We were contacted by Peter Chung's company to say, please do something about it. Help us to clarify this to the netizens that follow you guys. And we did. We immediately put up a post saying, you know, stop harassing him, he's the wrong guy. I think that highlighted to us the very real reasons why we needed these guidelines in place for our own community management. We have long ago decided that the page will not be used as a place to out people or to flame them or to find their address and, you know, harass them at work and that kind of stuff. So in the course of that period, we deleted tons of comments that we felt would be openly doxing.
So did you remove those comments that contained personal information about the victim?
Every single one of them. Anything that leans into this person stays here. Here's a photo of his car in the workshop, you know, this is where he works. Like, we remove all that immediately.
Some people might also say that you are benefiting from building this platform, so therefore you should be accountable for it.
This doxing law is a long time coming because for too long the internet has been left to self-regulate and rule itself, and it just in many, many ways brings out the worst in people. And that's why I say we take the accountability very seriously, yes.
Why do you think people feel the need to dox?
I think all of us want to see justice done in a situation that occurs. The internet has given people a platform to actually go out and seek that kind of justice that they feel is warranted for the situation that happened.
Unfortunately, platforms like Roads SG aren't meant 24/7, so not all comments are removed immediately. Such platforms are also not held liable for doxing, which leaves the owners on you and me. Soon, doxing is going to be against the law. There are clear instances of doxing and others which sit on a grey area.
I think the challenges of implementing this law is the definition of what is the intention to cause harassment.
I discovered how doxing affects individuals, but its impact goes beyond that. Sometimes employers are implicated. Employers like Darius, the CEO of Property Finder 99.co. In July 2016, he was alerted to a post from his employee, Australian Sunny Truan. It contained nasty comments about Singapore. In less than a day, livid netizens dug out details about Sunny and also Darius's company 99.co.
I couldn't believe this happens in real life, and much less happened to us. And I saw a lot of people tagging me on Facebook about a particular post about one of our employees having done something really atrocious, and it was just blowing up on the internet, and we couldn't believe this was happening. So there were a lot of bad things that people were saying. That it ranges from people saying that this company must have bad people to how can a company hire somebody like this to let's boycott this company. So first of all, we did a fact-finding mission to find out what exactly actually happened, what did he do, what did he say, to get the facts right. The second one, we make a very conscious decision to decouple the two issues, whether we're going to let him go versus the public pressure that's actually on.
The decision to fire Sunny was made within hours.
I believe in today's economy, companies cannot untie themselves from the employees. Company and people who hire people chooses their company, chooses the people that they hire, which is why it's very important that we find people who align to our values, and that's how we believe our company can continue to grow and thrive. In fact, what we did is that we actually implemented processes in our hiring process to make sure that we screen for personality and values now, much more stringently than we had before. And I believe that a company should take responsibility for their employees' conduct, even outside of work. So we do take responsibility for this. So the reason why we decided to let him go in the end rather than, for example, a warning, it was because that ultimately we decided that this was against our values, which was very fundamental to us. Our values are very concretely laid out in terms of what we believe as a company. If this was, for example, a tactical mistake, maybe you did something wrong with a job at the task, that's perfectly fine. That happens all the time. But I think in this case it was because it was a different set of values that he held, and I think it was different from ours. We feel that in the long run, this was not going to work out anyway. He was a very new employee with us at that point in any case. We were just getting to know him ourselves.
Parliament recently tabled proposed changes to the Protection from Harassment Act, which will make the act of culling someone's personal information online with the intention to harass them a crime.
This is the surest way to provide victims with protection. We should not tolerate any harassment or violence, least of all those which occur in an intimate partner or family setting.
So how do I ensure I don't break the law? I've arranged to meet lawyer Lionel Tan. He's an expert in internet law and has handled many cases involving online defamation and fraud. If the proposed law is passed, can you tell me what constitutes the boundaries of doxing?
Well, the law is meant to ensure that people who try to post personal details of individuals online with intention to cause harassment, they will be criminalized. The concern is, of course, what kind of actions will constitute intention to cause harassment.
Let me hypothesize and present a few scenarios, and then you can tell me if these situations constitute doxing.
Sure.
Okay, I post a photograph of a vehicle with its number plate clearly displayed in the photograph. This car is parked in an antisocial manner, for example, occupying two lots, or parking in the handicapped lot without a handicapped label. Is this doxing?
I would say just by posting that photograph, of course, showcasing that individual who's parked the car in an antisocial manner, I do not believe that would be doxing, because I think the intention was to educate people.
Okay. I record a video of a young man who pushes an elderly man during what looks like an altercation. I post a video online with the identity of the young man.
If that video was posted in a sense to sort of like identify the individual so that the authorities can take action, I don't think that's doxing. It's not the intention of causing harassment. But if the intention, in looking at all the circumstances, was to post the video and the personal identity of the young man in order to then encourage others to find him and then cause harassment to him, to intimidate him, to cause physical violence to him, then I would clearly say that's a doxing offence.
Okay, moving on. What about revealing the personal details of someone who posted racist remarks online?
If you're just posting that information about the person who made the racist remarks, perhaps the intention was to correct that person's behaviour, to tell the person you should not post such racist remarks because it's sensitive and may cause issues. But again, you cross the line and then encourage others to teach the person who made the racist remark a lesson, again, that will constitute doxing.
In the case of Monica Bain, did she dox Nicholas?
I believe she did not dox Nicholas. I believe her intention was to change certain practices in the university as to how they would treat, voyeurism cases and sexual harassment cases. So I think that was the intention, to call out and to say perhaps the disciplinary actions were not adequate and seek a change in those circumstances.
So according to Lionel, the moment you post someone's particulars and call for others to threaten or attack him, it would be considered intention to harass. The proposed amendments to the Protection from Harassment Act was tabled in Parliament on the 1st of April. It's not known yet when the law will come into effect. It's easy to be a keyboard warrior, and it's fine to post about someone to raise an issue, but it's a fine line between naming and shaming and inciting harassment. So in the process of seeking social justice, don't unwittingly run afoul of the law.